Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to the Brian Nichols Show. Well, happy Friday there, folks. Brian Nichols here on the Brian Nichols Show, and thank you for joining us on, of course, another fun-filled episode. I am, as always, your humble host, and today it's you and me, a one-on-one for a Friday episode. Why not? I thought it would be actually a great time to talk about, frankly, some real-life examples of, in this case, where I have been doing some sales stuff and have had some success stories, and I wanted to share that with you because I think there's something to learn in this one success story I had, and that is the understanding, and this is something we've talked about in the past with our friend Jeremy Todd, who, by the way, Sell Liberty is starting up here in a couple of weeks. So for those of you folks who were interested, yes, it is coming back. I promised you, season 2 is right around the corner. So make sure you've hit subscribe there. But no, we've talked about empathy in the past and the importance of that. So yeah, I'm going to talk about empathy in one specific example I've had for a sales cycle I've been working on for a deal. And it's quite wild of a story. So yeah, before we get there though, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to today's sponsor. And that sponsor is going to give you an opportunity to jump headfirst into the Liberty movement and make a real impact. That is Young Americans for Liberty. And they are currently recruiting campaign field staff to help elect pro-Liberty candidates across the country as part of Operation Win at the Door. These principled candidates are dedicated to fighting for gun rights, keeping our troops home, parental rights and education, criminal justice reform, ending our senseless spending, and many other winning liberty policies. And when I say winning, I mean it. Their work speaks for itself. These are the guys and gals that passed constitutional carry in Indiana, Texas, and Alabama, fought the lockdowns every step of the way, all while helping make liberty win. So, you want to help make a difference and get liberty candidates elected across the country? If you want to be a part of the fight and actually make an impact in our insane political climate here in 2022, you can join one of these campaigns now through November 8th, gas covered, housing fully provided, and you'll be compensated a total of $2,000 a month for your work on the campaign trail. Interested? Head to briannicholsshow.com/YAL to apply and make a real change in this country today. That's briannicholsshow.com/YAL. One more time, briannicholsshow.com/YAL. Let's make liberty win. All right, let's talk about this crazy story. So I was working on this one opportunity, and this bank deal I've been working on now for, oh my goodness, let's see, May, June, July, August, September. So 5 months. And it has been actually it's probably longer than that since the first actual booking of the appointment. We'll say 9 months actually at this point in total. 'Cause I actually booked the appointment back in January. And long story short, what this opportunity was a deal where the bank was moving their legacy phone solution to a newer solution, and they were looking for one that was going to be a good fit. Long story short, was able to help them not only find a different phone provider that was going to be a good fit for what they were looking to grow to, but it also helped solve a lot of the problems and pain points that they had been experiencing as a bank, especially with customer service issues and also integrating with their CRM. So everything looked great. And back in, I think it was June, we basically got a verbal, yes, hey, this looks great. We're ready to move forward. And, we were ready to pop the champagne. And then all of a sudden, when the time came that we thought, hey, we can get this over the finish line, hey, no, it didn't quite get there. No worries. Get to the end of July. Things were looking great. Actually got the verbal. And then the paperwork never got submitted. And we didn't know why. And then we couldn't get the prospect on the phone. And then, long story short, all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, we get the guy on the phone and doesn't really you seem to be himself. And long and short of it, and this is something that ended up kind of coming to a head over the past few weeks, was that I found out not only does this guy that we've been working with, who his role, he's the head of the entire IT department, he's the CIO. This guy, his mom, for the past 7 years, has been battling cancer. And he and his siblings have been help deal with her declining health. And he's multiple states away from where his family resides. So for him to go out and to be of help for his family, it takes him going out and, several trips a month to go to help his mom. So over the past few months, I noticed that Bob, who is the CIO here, that Bob, not only was he not responding to my emails, but I was getting really nervous because I hadn't heard anything. So finally, I shoot an email. Hey, just want to make sure we're on the same page, Bob. I don't want to be, that sales guy. Nobody wants to be that sales guy. And ends up no response until I get a phone call from him out of the blue about a week later. And you know how when you in your heart of hearts, you just know something's wrong, like something's off. He called me and when I heard his voice, I could tell, he wasn't his normal chipper self. I said, hey, Bob, how's it going? Trying to just start the conversation again. And he goes, hey, I just want to start off by apologizing. So what ended up happening was his mom, who, again, is the lady who has had cancer now for the past 7 years, also has issues with her heart. And she ended up having a stroke. And not only did she have a stroke, but she had that stroke while she was driving. So while she was pulling out of the pharmacy, she ended up slamming into the side of an 18-wheeler. Now, thank God when she did so, it hit the side of the truck, not her in front of the truck. But still, an 80-some-odd-year-old lady hitting the side of an 18-wheeler while having a stroke, definitely not the best of situations. And it didn't look good. And his mom, he went out to visit his mom, was out there for a number of weeks. And, all of a sudden it just kind of hit me like, this is why empathy is so important, because, and I'll also tell another side story to this, but empathy is important because it's important for you to understand that there is a human on the other side of every engagement interaction that you're having, whether it's in politics, in business, in sales. When you're speaking to your prospect, or in this case, the decision maker, it's a person, right? And then we forget this. We're not selling to the bank. We're not selling to the manufacturing company. We're not selling to the voting block. We're selling to a person. We're talking to a person. We're building a real, authentic relationship, and it requires you to treat them like they're real people, and to be able to enter into that more human relationship with Bob was so important for us, because then moving forward, I knew, okay, this is a thing that's going to be happening probably more consistently. So as we got towards the end of the finish line, we were supposed to have this paperwork back about a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago at this point, speaking today, right? And so the way my company works is we work with some providers who will help come in as the vendors to help provide these end services. So in this case, the provider we brought in for the phone solution, the original sales guy I've been working with, is now working for my my actual company. He left them to join us because we're awesome. But the guy who took over, didn't take over. He took over as a replacement for the replacement in the interim while the replacement, I think, was getting married. So this guy I've been working with, he calls me and he's like, I gotta ping this guy. And I say, no. Do not ping him under any circumstances. He actually let us know that his mom was not doing well and that, he was out there working on this, with his family. We cannot ping him. Okay, no worries. So then we fast forward, and a couple weeks later, I guess it was a week later at this point, then we get a phone call. Hey, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Actually, it wasn't a phone call. It was an email. This is actually on Wednesday. I'm ready to go. I'm actually, if we could meet tomorrow, could we do that? Sure thing. In the world of wine, there are so many choices, and that's why Blood of Tyrants Wine has tyrants losing their heads. Whether you're looking for a new go-to at home or want to impress your friends at a party, Blood of Tyrants Wine has you covered. And if you're trying to get rid of some pesky tyrants in your life, well, we've got that covered too. Head to BrianNicholsShow.com/wine and get $5 off your order. One more time, BrianNicholsShow.com/wine. Free men don't ask permission, so take a sip. You'll be glad you did. Hop in the call. come to find out, his mom, she was in declining health, but seemed to had stabilized. But still was just a thing that was constant as an issue that he was dealing with his family. And in that call we had, great call. He said, hey, everything looks good. We're ready to move forward. We're actually going to have things launch here as we get towards December. So, we're ready to move forward. And in that, we're saying, okay, great. Just want to see, timeline for paperwork. Actually, you know what? We're getting this signed today. Oh, all right. Rock and roll. We're getting this signed today. He's like, yep, going to go ahead and bring this over to finance. We're going to get this signed off so we can get things moving. I was like, oh, this is great. We're ready to roll. And then get an email. And in that email, another guy who's on the team of the bank, he says, hey, just want to give you a heads up. Bob's mom took a turn for the worst. And he had to go. He had to go be with her and be with the family. And he'll be checking his email and stuff, throughout the time that we're, he's out there. But just want to make sure you guys know, like, he's not ignoring you. I was like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. Of course, from a human element, that's awful. It's a guy who's, his mom. It's mom. And I had my other guy there, the other rep. He messaged me and he's like, hey, how, should I email him tonight? I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We do not email him tonight. He will respond to us. I promise. And, woke up this morning and what do we have in our inbox? We had the completed paperwork for the moving forward. So yes, folks, empathy is super important in sales because you never know what the person that you're speaking with is experiencing, what they're facing. And there's real people that we're working with. And at the end of the day, real people just like us are looking for people to understand them, to empathize with them, to feel the pain that they're feeling. And in this case, it's quite literally a pain beyond even business in this case. It's a personal pain. And it's something that, I think we have as sales, professionals, and I'm speaking now to sales professionals, we have to get better at. There is a very negative perception of the idea of a person being a sales professional. Reason being isn't necessarily just because of the old used car salesman stereotype, but also with that, the idea of pushing things that the person you're speaking to doesn't need. And with that, not understanding the person that you're speaking to and where they're at. Meet them where they're at, some may say. Because if you're not entering into the conversation that your prospect is already having, then you're speaking white noise. You have to be the one who's addressing the common concerns, the questions that they're asking, the things that they're raising up as their main issues. What can you do to enter into those conversations they're having, to meet them where they're at on those issues that they care about, and with that, be able to effectively move them from one position to a better future state? That's the challenge. Is it easy? Absolutely not. But it is a lot easier when you do so through the lens of empathy. By understanding not just the buyer persona, who the person is, who your ideal customer persona is, and what makes up them, but truly understand your customer from an empathetic standpoint of what moves them, what's driving them, the person. Not just the CIO, not just the technology leader, Bob, the person whose mom has had cancer for 7 years and who has gotten into a terrible car accident, who had a stroke and now is in declining health. What does that person need? They need time. They need space. They need to be able to deal with the things that at the end of the day truly matter. Family first, always. So in being able to effectively address empathy in the way that we approach sales, we will instantly find and inherently see that not only will our sales be more easy, but they will be more effective and long-lasting. If you're joining the show and you're traditionally listening as a political listener, how does this apply to you? because you don't want to make the sale to somebody multiple times over as a non-recurring buyer. You want that person to instantly know that, yes, this organization, let's say you're a libertarian, right? You want them to associate positive feelings with you in understanding who they are. That requires you meeting them where they're at. Now, yes, once we do that, then we can bring them to different areas, but it requires us to meet them first. So I say all that, folks. It's a Friday. And I just want us to, at the very least, take away from this episode, but also I'd say across the board, this is something I think has been lacking in our civil discourse today, is the understanding of empathy. We have to treat others the way we want to be treated. The don't hurt people, don't take people's stuff mentality only works when we in turn are treating others the way that we also would want to be treated. The two go hand in hand. So let's be the example. Let's lead by example, and with that, lead with empathy. So, folks, if you enjoyed today's episode, number one, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do me a favor, give it a share. When you do, please go ahead and tag yours truly at B Nichols Liberty. Also, if you enjoyed today's episode, well, do me a favor and head over to briannicholsshow.com/reviews. Give us a 5-star rating and review. I absolutely appreciate it, as do the tens of thousands of other listeners who have gone through and joined us here in the Brian Nichols Show audience over the past 4.5 years now, and we've been able to reach quite literally hundreds of thousands of people as we've been able to grow not just our audience, but also to go on other audiences like Matt Kibbe over at Free the People, over on Tim Pool in his network. Just amazing opportunities that we've had here to reach more people, to effectively help sell liberty. And by the way, that is a labor of love. So if you want to help support the cause, I would greatly appreciate it. Head to briannicholsshow.com/support. You can either become one of our super fans. We're over on Patreon, $5 a month. You will get monthly Q&As with yours truly. Any questions you have, whether it's sales, marketing, business, politics, come on over, room for all, $5 a month. That'll get you access to our super fan level. Also, if you wanted to go ahead and give a one-time PayPal donation, I greatly appreciate it. Head over to briannicholsshow.com/support. You'll find our PayPal link there. 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, whatever it can be to help. I greatly appreciate it because it all goes right back into the show. It has us having more opportunities to have more folks on the program, giving me a chance to go and be on other shows and other programs. So, folks, I greatly appreciate all those who have donated and who have joined our super fans. Thank you for that. And if you have not yet, well, I challenge you, please. It's the weekend. It's a Friday. Why not go ahead and be spontaneous and go ahead and join? That's my challenge to you. Go support the Brian Nichols Show because, yeah, we have, 585 other episodes you can go ahead and check out as well. If that's not value and content, I don't know what is. But other than that being said, folks, we've had an amazing, truly amazing week here of guests. Most recently, we had yesterday a good friend of the show and a guy I'm actually mentoring for his podcast here, good friend Fred Eberlein. And by the way, folks, yes, that is something I do if you're interested for podcast mentoring. How to sell your podcast also is a course I teach. So again, email me, Brian at briannicholsshow.com if you're interested. But back to Fred's awesome episode we had there yesterday. I will include that link here below over on YouTube, so make sure you go ahead and click there to check that out. Otherwise, if you're joining us here on the podcast version of the program, all you gotta do, click the artwork in your podcast catcher. It'll bring you right over to briannicholsshow.com, where you can find the entire transcript of today's episode, plus, yes, all 585 other episodes. You can find all the links to all the guests associated with those episodes, and also you will find the links to our YouTube and our Odyssey pages. I ask when you're there, please do me a favor and make sure you hit the subscribe buttons and also hit those little notification bells so you're not missing a single time we go live. All right, guys, that's all I have for you this week. Truly, again, what an awesome week of guests. Thank you to all my guests who have joined me. And folks, thank you for joining us 5 episodes a week. It's a blast to be able to hang out with you guys and bring you some awesome folks who leave us, I hope, educated, enlightened, and informed. With that being said, happy Friday. Brian Nichols signing off here on The Brian Nichols Show. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.